All right. We are live.
I wanted to see how long we could all just be quiet for and make Mike go insane. Everybody ready? Yep.
Since he has headphones on, I was just going to start just kind of like mouthing words, just make him freak out, think he couldn't hear what I was saying.
See him just start turning random knobs on the board.
He's like tapping his headphones and then doing a thumbs up because he does it a lot. You never know what it means.
Should we start by apologizing to the 50 listeners we have for the 15-minute episode that we put out?
No, we should tell them that they are welcome.
I think we should look to the future, and just let what happened in the past be in the past.
I like how our last episode essentially ended as a cliffhanger. Did God kill us all?
No, God doesn't.
Did God
hate fags
smite
as
this
much as we
podcast?
thought.
Yeah.
I think it's just this podcast, really.
I agree. I
But
totally
we're
agree
fully
with that.
prepared. We have the charger.
Mm-hmm.
We have everything.
Yes.
I let Bane out, and he almost took all the equipment with him as he ran past the table.
He's just really interested in this kind of stuff. So
He's very passionate about podcasting.
very pause on.
I think
that's
he
not
actually hates
helpful.
podcasting because whenever we podcast, he's in a crate.
He's like, fuck the microphone.
Totally. Yeah. If I were him, I would hate podcasting.
It's like, if I break all of this, I can't go back in the crate.
It's really the best for everybody that he's in there. What are we going to talk about, guys? Are we going to talk about left-wing hero Al Franken also being a monster?
I mean, we can. I don't know. I haven't really read much about it. It's just too much sexual abuse for me to take in at this moment.
I honestly think we are hitting already in this sexual abuse fatigue. Like, for real.
Well, what irritates me is like when it comes out, like it could have been like, like everybody hates famous people. So every famous person's like, all right, yeah, well, that guy's an asshole. We're writing him off. Then when it gets to politics, it's, right-wing guys and you're like, all right, fuck. And then when it's Franken, the first thing I see is like somebody on Facebook that would have been like balls out attacking a right-wing politician posts an article about all the women that Al Franken didn't harass.
Totally.
Yeah.
I know.
And they're like, I worked with Al Franken and he was perfectly fine and respectful. Yeah, like even the worst serial rapist has not raped more women than he's raped.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Mathematically, that's just going to be the case every time.
Yeah.
In fact, because I love telling the story, the Green River Killer had what to me amounts to just a precious marriage. They had such a lovely, precious marriage, such a sweet couple.
Who was the Green River Killer?
Yeah, what was that?
the Green River Killer back in the, I want to say,
what was his
70s.
name, though?
I can't remember his real name.
It wasn't Kemper, was it?
I don't think so.
No.
Gingerneer is looking it up on his
Yeah,
phone.
Google it, Mike. Come on. You got to be a quicker.
At any rate, we can get some background details later, but he's like a prolific killer of prostitutes. So serial rapist, serial murderer, and prolific, like killed who even knows? I mean, hopefully the internet. I honestly don't think they even know to this day how many women, because they didn't find all of them.
Yeah.
But my point is he had a wife, and his wife was completely in the dark about all of this and was a very sweet woman. He would leave very early for work and leave like her vitamins out on the counter for her when she woke up. Like she had no idea that her husband had this horrible, terrifying double life.
He was just a sweetheart.
Gary Ridgway, that's who it was.
Gary Ridgway. Yeah. Yep. And that's just to Ray's point. Like, not even the most horrible of monsters treated every single woman the same way,
Yeah. Which on this particular post, my girlfriend commented, Ted Bundy never raped and murdered me. And it was like a quote from her.
Nice.
And then his response was, wow, what a totally like outlandish and not even close like metaphor. I'm like, actually, it's pretty spot on.
One of the only times in my life that I've ever like really been hit on by a guy like who was persistent
Was Al Franken?
Yeah, that was Al Franken.
He was dressed as Stuart Smalley, ironically.
Yep. No, it was this guy when I worked at Media Play. I was a cashier, and so he came into the store. He bought something from me, and then he came in like a couple days later and bought something else. And it was like during the day, so it wasn't very busy, so there was no one in line behind him. So he could kind of like hang out. And so he asked me my name, and then he just started small talking with me a little bit. And I was like, okay, didn't really think much of it. And then he asked me if I'd like to go out sometime. And I was like, oh, no, I'm not interested in that. Like, I had no idea like what to even say to him because it wasn't something that happened that much. And although I wasn't like nearly as overtly gay as I am now, I still knew I was gay. So I was like, but I wasn't going to be like, oh, I'm gay. Like, I'm going to tell this guy that.
Yeah.
But he just kept being super persistent, being like, come on. Finally got to the point where I was like, I am getting uncomfortable. And at one point he's like, I'm a nice guy. And I just looked at him and I said, Ted Bundy was a nice guy. And then he left. And I was like, okay, that works. Ladies, that works. Please use that line anytime you need to. And that's true. Ted Bundy indeed was a nice guy. If you're not familiar, he sometimes would pretend he had a broken arm to try to get women to help him get stuff in his car for him. And then he would fucking pull them in the car. And his arm wasn't broken after all. And now they're dead.
He would kill them and have sex. Yeah, that part of Silence of the Lambs where he's acting like he's hurt, that was based off of Ted Bundy.
Totally. Mm-hmm.
He would put fake casts on and
totally
like
did.
Tell people he needed help getting a couch into a van and shit like that.
Yeah, and he was very handsome and very charming. And so, this handsome, charming man is like, could you mind giving me a hand? And, it's not like he looked like a killer, but alas. So, yeah, I know an awful lot about Ted Bundy, in fact. I highly recommend the book The Stranger Beside Me, which is by Anne Rule, one of like the biggest true crime writers. The reason I like this book is because Anne Rule actually way back in the day before Ted Bundy, I think, was like murdering people, she worked at a crisis line hotline with him. So she actually knew him personally. So she was like...
Small world.
Yeah. She had a really interesting, like view and take on it. So it's a really interesting book.
Well, what brought on the fascination of Jeffrey Dahmer? I mean, Ted Bundy.
For who? For me?
Like...
I remember seeing it in the news and stuff when I was little, and my dad was a criminal justice professor. So this kind of stuff was talked about very clearly. On a previous podcast, I think I mentioned this, that I once told my parents I wanted to be a serial killer for Halloween. And that didn't go over that well.
And you just came out in your regular clothes.
I wish I had been that smart as a kid. Can you imagine how quickly that would have landed
Laura,
me
where's
in
your
therapy?
costume? I'm a serial killer.
I'm going to tell my sister's son to do this. I think this is a great idea. Terrify her. Anyhow, I found it really interesting because of the fact that I heard about it a lot. And his death penalty case happened like when I was old enough to like in 89, I think is when he was put to death in Florida.
I remember the day he was being electrocuted. He got the electric chair, didn't he? Yeah.
He did.
They still had that then. I was in elementary school. Might have been in like second, third grade maybe. And I remember my mom was watching Good Morning America. She watched Good Morning America while we were getting ready for school. And there were like people outside of the jail and they were holding signs. And one stuck in my head. It was a Tuesday. And the sign said, Tuesday is Friday for Bundy, but it's Fry, F-R-Y.
Holy moly.
And at first I was like, I don't get it. Tuesday is Friday. Tuesday is Friday. My mom's like, they're electrocuting him. And I was like, oh. I was like, why do they misspell Friday? She's like, we go to school and learn something.
McDonald's is giving away free fries.
Yeah, that's exactly what I equate. Speaking of true crime, me and Amy, my girlfriend, we watch a lot of like true crime, like documentaries and stuff. And I want to work on a bit where, because we were watching the Lacey Peterson one where they like kind of re-examine the Scott Peterson, Lacey Peterson case.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of circumstantial evidence where he got like convicted. Basically, that was like one of the first cases where Nancy Grace was like big into, and she pretty much just convicted him on her TV show, So they were looking at a lot of evidence, and it's like one of the big things is like this timeline established around her walking the dog. Where like if all these people saw her walking the dog, there's no way he could have killed her in the house and had time to take her to the harbor where they found her body. Then there's like this burglary across the street with these weird, they think they might have been the people who actually killed her because they were right there and the timeline would have worked out for them. But I just like, because she lives in an apartment, so we have to like, when dogs have to go out, we have to take them out on a leash. and I'll walk them around, and there's like a lot of woods around her apartment. So every time like we'll be watching like a true crime documentary, like I'm not afraid I'm gonna get murdered. But the joke I want to write about is like I'm afraid I'm going to be the part of a timeline establishing something that's going on around me.
Totally.
And they're going to have to describe me. And they're like, if they saw the overweight man walking the dogs, and then it just gradually gets worse. Like, obviously, if they saw the obese man, obviously walking the dogs a very short distance.
They cut to a witness.
There's
He's
no
like,
way
and then
that
I
they
saw the
could've-
fat guy come around
This
the block.
man who clearly walked his dog to McDonald's right before the murder happened.
And I'm just watching it like, come on, guys. Seriously? Like,
I always think that I'm going to end up being part of that story. And then a dog walker, his dog pulled to the end of the leash and came upon the body, you know, because walking around in the woods, I'm like, we will be totally the first people to find something.
like even when I was a little kid, like I would watch Unsolved Mysteries with my parents and stuff, and I'd be like we'd be riding, me and my friends would like ride our bikes through a park or something, and I'd be like, man, what if we found a dead body today?
Totally.
And everyone's
Mostly
like,
in
"Why
my
do
mind,
you
I'm just
always
like,
say
oh,
that,
what an
Ray?"
inconvenience. I do not have time for this. This is going to derail my day. That's because I'm dead inside. Oh, another fun Ted Bundy fact, because it just occurred to me. Anne Rule met him in the state of Washington. That's where he started this, where he started murdering women.
Yeah.
Then, during one of the trials for one of those murders, he escaped from the courthouse and ended up in Florida. Like, he fled.
Yeah.
And then started murdering women in Florida.
Well, see, what's fucked up is do you ever listen to Last Podcast on the Left, Laura? It's a true crime podcast.
No.
Well, they'll do serial killer like episodes, and they'll have like 3 like hour-and-a-half long episodes where they really go really in depth with everything. And like when he went to Florida, he was gonna try to like be straight. Like he's like, I gotta stop this, and that's why the sorority house was like so like out of character, brutal for him, was because he suppressed it for so long that he just fucking just like rage killed like those 4 girls in that house.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just like, that's fucked up. Like, I'm gonna try to, and then like it just comes out even worse. Like it's like a true like monster. Now we're a true crime podcast.
Yep. But thankfully now men don't have any rage problems against women, so
Yeah,
that's all in the past.
It's good we solved that a long time ago.
Yes, once we fried Ted Bundy, that was all solved.
Yeah, that was like one of the, like when I was like working on this bit, like in the beginning of it, I'm gonna be like, I'm not afraid of getting murdered. Like I'm a man. Like we do the murdering. Like we're.
You're more likely to die of a heart attack walking the dog.
Yeah, you're talking about like circumstantial evidence and like the dog walker and stuff. I've been reading excerpts from this book about Mary Meyer. You guys know who that is?
No.
She was JFK's mistress,
Oh,
Okay.
and people believe that she kind of put the whole thing together and was about to like start talking about.
Come on, a woman.
Well, people were afraid she was going to start talking, and
Yeah.
so she ended up dead in like the Washington, whatever the big park is.
Oh,
in
like
DC.
she put the whole conspiracy together.
Yeah, she like
Oh,
she.
I thought you
she
meant
connected.
like she planned it.
No. She connected the dots. Yeah,
Yeah.
she connected the dots on what really
she
happened.
was Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah. But yeah, she connected the dots on it, and everybody was afraid that she was going to start talking, so she ended up dead. And it's very much like that, where she was jogging in a park, and witnesses saw a man standing over her dead body, and they described the man, and ended up,
As
arresting.
JFK.
Yeah. And they ended up arresting this guy who really had nothing to do with it, but was wearing similar clothes.
Yeah.
And the book just sounds interesting because they really dig into it. And the guy actually finds the guy who they believe is the one who really murdered her. And he's like, yeah, it was me.
What's the name of the book?
I can find out. I can't remember what the name is. I can't remember. Go ahead and talk. I'll find it.
No, we'll just
Talk
be silent.
amongst
We'll be
ourselves.
quiet.
Sit in silence
No,
until I
we'll
find
be
it.
quiet.
All right.
It's probably called JFK Blown Away. What else do I have to say? That's probably the name of it.
Mary's Mosaic. That's the name of
Okay.
the book.
Yeah, dude. JFK assassination conspiracies are like something my dad got me into when
Deanne
I
was
young.
obsessed with it. Like my sister was obsessed with the JFK assassination and the Holocaust during the high school years. Our high school years were like that's almost all she talked about.
I'm
It's healthy,
completely
right?
Witkowski dinner table conversation.
I mean, to be fair, Schindler's List came out like
Yeah.
my senior or junior year of high school, so it was all the rage again at that time. So because of the movie,
The Holocaust was all the rage.
it was kind
made
of
a strong comeback in that
Yeah.
era.
Yeah.
I'm completely
It's on
obsessed.
cover at GQ. Good news, the Holocaust in.
It's back, yeah, in style. I'm completely obsessed with the JFK assassination.
out World War One. What was that all about?
I bought. I heard about this like docuseries that the History Channel did. Like I think it was,
And they
in the
totally
90s.
erased it from history.
They erased the last 3 episodes
Yeah.
of it, and you can't buy it now with
you
those
can't.
last 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So I went on eBay and I found
It's
it
called
with the last
the
3
Men Who
episodes.
Killed Kennedy.
Yeah. I
For
bought-
real? This is a real thing?
Yeah, I went on eBay and found it with the last 3 episodes. I'm still not up to those 3, but apparently in one of them there's a picture of his limo shortly after they took him out of it.
The bullet hole in the
The
windshield.
bullet hole in the windshield.
Yeah, I read those like when the documents got released. I was up north at my parents' house, and I was reading them to my dad, and my mom just like got up and left the room. But they like there was a bullet hole right through the windshield.
Yeah, and
then there was like a guy from Michigan. He was an engineer at Ford.
worked at
And
Ford.
he said he came into work one day, and they told him to go to this like building, C or something. And he goes in there, and Kennedy's limo was a one of a kind Lincoln Continental town car. And he goes into the building, and his car's there, and they were like redesigned this windshield, and they like took the one out that had the bullet hole in and put a new one in, and then shipped the car back to Washington D.C.
That's
Yeah,
really
they-
interesting because, not to make this about me here, but my grandfather
Of
was...
course.
Yeah. My grandfather was a design engineer for Ford, and he was actually one of the guys who built that car, the
Yeah.
Lincoln Continental. So...
So your grandpa's part of the problem, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
he had to cover everything up.
your grandpa was the one on the grassy knoll.
He was. So you're saying your grandfather was a gingerneer for Ford?
He was.
It's a long line
yeah.
of
Long
Gingerneers
line.
in Mike's family.
Come from a
Family.
long line of gingerneers.
Carrying on the family tradition. That's great.
But yeah, it's pretty crazy. They,
I haven't been up on it, honestly. I've just been, I know it's like, again, in the news and like
Yeah.
people are talking about it. I have no idea. Part of me just feels like, yeah, sure, totally. Why would I
There's-
trust that any, I don't know. I just don't.
Well, that assassination is kind of like the turning point of the distrust
Totally.
in the government,
Mhm.
and that's
Yeah, that's
why,
a good point.
That's why people are really trying to uncover the mystery, because, I mean, if that can be solved, if the truth of that can be released, then there's hope that you can kind of see all the other bullshit that they've fed us since then.
I suppose so. But I feel like the truth about other things would then take just as long to come out. Like, for instance, all this sexual abuse in Hollywood stuff. This isn't news. This isn't brand new. It's taken like 20 years for this to come out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm like, oh, cool. I'll be dead by then. So
I think it would
Why
build.
is it different now though? Like obvious, like why? Like I know, like before, like when women were like, I need to come out about this, and people, oh no, we'll end your fucking career. Well, like, what is different now? To where like
I think
is it just now they're sticking together and there's so many they just can't.
I think this wall that has been built to kind of keep people dumb, I think it's cracking, and I think it's like a dam that had a small crack in it and no one addressed it, and that crack just kept getting bigger and bigger and more water is coming through.
I think you're right. But I think that also happened at the same time that we saw basically like the diluting of the entertainment industry. Harvey Weinstein used to have way more of a handle and a grip on stuff when there were less formats and less possibilities. And now you've got, streaming and Netflix and Hulu and YouTube. And I think that's part of it, is that they are able to divest and be like, fuck you, I'm just going to go do this. And this is not related to that.
I think
lessened.
all of those things are cracks in the dam, though. So like you're trying to cover all these holes. You can't cover all these holes. So like water's going to get through somehow. And yeah, you know, I think
Mr. Analogy over here.
Yeah, definitely continue. What else?
I'm not good at speaking directly, so I need to have these.
Is there a little Dutch boy with his finger in the dam?
I can only speak in metaphors. But yeah, like Netflix and Hulu and all these like the internet, I think all of that is taking power away from, you know, Hollywood and these execs, and I think that's why they fight so hard to kind of try to block all those new things like Napster coming out.
Totally.
I think that's why they fight so hard, because I think they recognized we can lose our power here and we will never be able to abuse women again, you know? So they had to like really block that as hard as they could.
Like, I think to me, I feel very disillusioned in some respects, because to me, power doesn't equal like the opportunity to subjugate other people. Like, that sounds horrible. I can't even imagine wanting to do that. And yeah, for some people that seems to be like literally the goal. Like, oh, once I'm powerful enough, I can make people, you know, bend to my will. Oh, it just makes me want to throw up. Like, I just hate all of that. And so the fact that this despicable behavior is like literally what people have been aspiring to just grosses me out. I've hated LA. Like, I just hate the whole culture. I hate everything about, you know, like celebrity, star fucking, ladder climbing, fakeness.
Hey,
like,
that's the biz, kid.
I just can't get behind any of it. It just all rubs me the wrong way. And I find it not that surprising that some of this reprehensible stuff is finally coming to light. And I hope that changes things, and that people who are decent human beings and who are talented can actually get a chance, because that just doesn't seem possible. It almost seems like if you're a good person, you're just going to never succeed because you're not willing to like literally step on a baby's head, you know? Like, I just don't get it. Like, these people just are reprehensible monsters. It's like
that movie Comedian with Jerry Seinfeld. I think it came out in like 1999. It was like the documentary of him coming up with all new material after he retired from the show, and I forgot. I watched it again. It's on Netflix, and I watched it again recently, and I forgot there was this whole part where he sits down with Cosby, and basically Cosby is telling him, like, you've made it. You're in the upper echelon. Like, you know, you've accomplished so much. And like Jerry's driving his car back talking about how much it means for Cosby to say that. And it's like, it's so fucking weird to see now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause it's funny because like, my girlfriend DVRs Late Night with Stephen Colbert all the time. And Seinfeld was on talking about, I think it was his new Netflix special where he unretires all that old material and made a new special with it. But he brought up Cosby, and he was like, he goes, "Are we all just supposed to hate him now? Like, are we like, can you separate the man from the art?" And like Colbert, like, I don't forget how he laid it out, but he like basically said 2 sentences and completely changed Jerry's mind. And he's like, yeah, you're right. We can't, like, it's
Yeah, you can't.
Well, like, I mean, I get that thinking, because like if you separate the two, like, his material is still funny, right? I mean,
yeah, well, I mean,
like,
I was talking about
but
that about Louis the other day. Like, I'm like,
the problem though is like you can't separate them, because if you continue to consume the art, he's going to continue to get paid,
right? Which
means he's still reaping the benefits, even though he did this.
But even if you don't consume the art, like, just an opinion, like I was talking, like Louis C.K. for example, like I was like, you know, like I've heard about what he's been doing for years. I mean, he's still a good comic. He's a bad person,
right? Yeah, it's ridiculous to kind of
like, he's not a bad comic. Like, all that stuff he made is now not funny.
Right, but this also isn't a guy who like made statues or paintings. This is somebody whose work is very autobiographical to a very, very strong degree. And I think that's the difference to me, where I'm like, I can't. Even some of the jokes
that's what's even more weird about Cosby was like, he was so not like that. Like, all his stuff was just so family oriented, and that's what's really.
Cosby has some jokes though where he talks about drugging women.
Does he?
Yeah, he totally does. He totally does.
I think if you get convicted of like rape or abuse or whatever, all of your material goes into the public domain.
I was just going to say that, because think about it. Then we could have other people perform those jokes that are great jokes. And so you can be like, this person has never hurt anybody in their entire life. They saved 2 puppies just today. Their mom's a nun. Their dad's a nun. Here's the most perfect person in the world doing the material.
We could
Louis
have
CK.
we could
I'd
have,
watch that.
We could have Mark Ruffalo doing Louis C.K. You know,
I would watch that.
We should have shows where we just like everybody just does like 10 minutes of Louis C.K. stuff.
Right, but you have to prove that you're like a perfect person first. No one will ever be able to do it. No one's
well,
perfect.
I'm gay, so
You
it's
have to-
impossible for me to
Me too.
Yeah.
You have to at least not have sexually assaulted someone, even one time. I think that's fair. I mean, I know I'm stringent, but
I mean, come on,
Be
Laura. That's
reasonable,
very
please.
that's very
I put
strict.
my foot down. I know. I am the fun
Like
police.
Catholic nun over here.
I wish. I don't really. That sounds awful. Really, I don't have any. I just want to put it out there. I don't really have any kind of like nun fetish or anything. I really don't.
I have seen porn where it was like nuns and priests, and I'm like, this is weird.
That does
There's-
not surprise me. But
There's a guy on Tumblr who supposedly has a video of himself blowing a priest, like a real legit priest.
well, that doesn't. I mean,
Wow,
that doesn't even raise my
shocking.
eyebrow.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's.
I
Oh wow, weird. All that
I had
repression. That's so weird.
I had a guy message me one time on an app, and I met up with him for lunch one day.
In an RV in a garage.
No, at Kirby's Coney Island.
Different guy, different day.
But we met up and we like were having lunch.
You actually
and,
had lunch first?
yeah, he wanted to have lunch, so I was like, all right,
Old school.
yeah. I was
Well,
like,
he was probably old. We're talking Alex.
He wasn't
He's
that
just-
old. He was like in
just-
his 40s.
He's just school.
It's like meet me
Yeah,
at
yeah.
Bill Knapp's.
But like we're just having lunch and we're sitting there and we're talking and
Let's get the early bird.
at the end of the lunch, he's like, I have something that I have to tell you because sometimes people are weirded out by it, so I should be upfront. I'm a priest. And I'm just like, all right.
Sometimes people are weirded out by it.
Alex with a mouthful of food just goes, I don't care.
Totally.
They're gonna tell me you had AIDS or something.
Just spits waffle everywhere. It's fine with, if you're okay with that, I'm okay with it.
Be like, I'm just happy that you're into age appropriate men. That's cool. Good for you,
that's
dude.
that's one thing that people would have a really hard time like pinning on me because it's like, nah, I'm the opposite. Like
Hey, Alex touched a young man's ball. No,
That's
he didn't.
bullshit.
No,
I know.
he did not.
that is
You might as well
bullshit.
say I touched
Alex
a young
likes
man's balls.
old balls.
Yep.
They got to be at least 3/4 of the way down to the knee.
He brings a measuring tape.
Marinated in toilet water.
You guys are making me gayer. Speaking of which, last time we talked, I think this ended up on our little 15-minute podcast. Ray, you asked me if I thought it was sexual abuse or sexual assault what Louis C.K. did.
Yeah.
And I thought about this. It popped in my head today. Like when I was in high school, and this is just a fun story anyway, I was at the library, the Clarkston Public Library, and I was looking for the book 1984. And I remember reaching down to like pull the book off the shelf and just glancing up and seeing a guy on the other side of the bookcase, and he was waving his wiener at me.
Oh my God.
And that was the first time in my life I had ever seen a man's penis.
Alex wants to know exactly where the Clarkson Library is.
I'll give you the address after.
All right, cool.
And I dropped the book and I grabbed my sister and her friend. I was like, we have to go. We have to leave right now. And while I was getting them, I saw this guy just booking it out of the library.
After you guys, or like away?
No,
'cause
like
he
he
thought
was
you're.
like, my job here is done. I'm going to get the
Okay.
hell out of here before I get
Yeah.
caught. And that was so profoundly disturbing to me. And this
Yeah,
was something that
fuck
I
yeah.
saw
Yeah.
for a split second, and it was a stranger, and I got the fuck out of there. And so thinking about it, like if that happened, like if someone I knew in person even asked me that question, let alone like whip their dick out, like I just can't even imagine how horrible that would feel. So I don't know. I think it is like way more profoundly disturbing for a woman to like have to see that than I think men realize, like having that forced on you, like even in just your vision.
Yeah.
You know, I used to joke in high school, like not in high school, but like that incident in high school is what made me gay. But I mean, in many respects, like it was profoundly disturbing to me, especially since, another fun fact, afterwards I told my parents that this happened, and my father made me go to the police, made me go to the police station, which I did not want to do because I was just mortified. I didn't want to. I had nothing I could really tell them. I had.
What was he? Was he wearing like pants?
He was. I mean.
Or was it like the typical like trench coat?
No,
like,
he was wearing pants, but he had like I don't know if they were
crotchless.
unzipped or he just whipped it out, whatever. I don't know because I looked away as fast as I could, but he did have pants on.
Yeah.
I think it would be a lot harder to pull that off in the library if you were walking around with no pants on.
The guy with the
It's
trench
that
coat.
guy. Follow that butt. Yeah,
The guy with the trench coat with
Asshole.
bare legs sticking out.
exactly. Yep, that guy. No. He had. I remember he had pants and a tan jacket. Like that's all I remember.
Well, what are you going to tell the police?
I never saw his face.
Yeah, like what are you going to tell the police? I saw.
I could hardly
his wiener.
I know it's not. I could hardly guess his ethnicity, although since it was Clarkston, probably white.
Yeah.
But I didn't really see him like as much as So the stuff I had to tell the police, they were nice enough to let me talk to a lady officer who, I kid you not,
Progressive.
rolled her eyes at everything I said and acted like I was wasting her time, which made all of this so much worse. Then afterwards, like she's like, "What did you see?" And I was like, "Well, I was so uncomfortable, like just to talk to
How
her.
old were you?
In high school, like
Yeah,
I don't know,
15,
so like
14,
15, maybe 16." And she's like, "Well, you saw his what? You have to say it." I was like, "Why?" But I guess like to be on record.
Yeah.
I don't know. So she made me say
She
the
probably
word
had
penis.
like a bingo sheet with the other album.
think
How
you're
many
right.
times can you get this kid
I
to
think
say
you're
penis?
right.
Well, you
For
had
real.
to say it so that like the police chief could jerk off to it later.
Right. Totally. Ugh. And then in the Clarkston News, in the police blotter, I got a little blurb.
Yeah.
I never would have known about it except my father cut it out and left it on my desk for me.
Do you still have that clip?
I probably do somewhere.
we need to
High school
we
kid
need to-
Laura Wachowski
can we-
blows the roof off of child pedophilia.
Can we post a picture of it to our Twitter feed?
I will try to find it.
All
yeah,
right,
that
yeah.
would be fantastic. If I can find it, I will absolutely do it. Oh, he also highlighted it just to make sure that I read the right blurb. God bless you, Dad. That was not a helpful time in my life. He made that so much worse. He told me, because I remember my dad saying, if you don't go to the police and report this guy could do this to someone else or worse. And so then I felt like it was like it felt
now it's
so
your duty.
Now you're Peter Parker with that thief running by.
right. Yeah, I felt like, oh, you're right. If this happens, I might as well rape a woman. If this happens, I did it. Like this is just as much my responsibility for staying silent. Like I'm complicit. So I just felt so guilty about it that I was like, I have to tell. But yeah, it is profoundly disturbing. So, gentlemen, even though you think it's funny to whip your dicks out at each other, don't do it to women. Like, God, stop doing that to women. They don't want to see that.
Friday night, I did a show at the Ritz, and Esther was on it, and she did a fucking really funny joke about this guy flashing her, and he was like, she goes, and I didn't like, everybody's like saying like, oh, sometimes women just freeze or sometimes women just do this. She's like, I tried to run that motherfucker over with my car. She's like, I did a U-turn. I came back. I drove right at him. He ran out of the way. She's like, but then I didn't tell anybody. I saw something and I didn't say something. So I guess I'm a part of the problem. She's like,
I do think if that happened to me today, I would probably just be like, oh, Jesus Christ. And I would walk away.
yeah.
But I wouldn't like it or be happy about it. I don't think it would shake me to my core.
Slam a book on it.
I don't want to get that close to it.
I
Get the
used
biggest encyclopedia you could find and just
I
wham.
Like, you stay right there. I'm going to go get a Britannica.
I used to watch The Shield when it was on FX.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And there was this one, like I didn't see like I would just watch episodes here and there. And I saw this one episode where this guy was with his family at like a public park, and then like this dude like starts walking to the men's restroom and kind of like gives him a look. And so the dad of this family, obviously like being, on the down low, probably like, I'll be right back. I gotta go to the bathroom. Follows this guy into the bathroom. He goes into the stall next to him, and there's a glory hole. So the dad puts his dick through the glory hole, and on the other side, that dude that was in there snaps a mouse trap on it, or a rat trap, a big rat trap.
Oh, no.
So he can't pull his dick back through the hole. He's in.
Oh.
So they had to his fucking wife has to call the cops to come and go take the fucking rat trap off his dick.
Jesus Christ.
I was like, God, that's fucked up. Like, Alex, you gotta watch out for that.
There's no
careful.
glory holes in the wild around here anyway.
In the wild.
Yeah. There's one glory hole.
No, we're in civilization. You're in the wild.
There's one glory hole that I know of. It's in Harrison Township. And
Of course it is. In gay Mecca, Harrison Township.
and it's pointless because the stalls that it's on don't have doors anyway. So like, why do you even have this? Why is there even a hole here?
Because that's your
Because
thing.
there's some because sometimes glory holes are used by guys who I mean, obviously they know there's a guy, but if you can stick your dick through a hole and you're not necessarily comfortable with being gay, you can suspend disbelief as to what's touching it on the other side.
I guess that's true. I
It's
don't
a lot
want
different
to
than looking down and just seeing a big bearded Alex. Fucking
All the like bookstores that had glory holes are like closed now. So
oh man,
yeah, it sucks.
we need to open them up to make America great again.
I will not accept Detroit being back as a city until there's an adult bookstore downtown with glory holes. That's the only way that I will know Detroit has rebounded totally.
Yeah, they'll also sell macaroons though.
Dan Gilbert will never let that happen.
Oh, I wanted to ask you, Alex, are you familiar with any gay pickup parks in Ann Arbor?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the one. I think it's like Lily Park or something.
Well, I'm familiar with one only because it's very near our house and we walk our dogs there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We always just call it Dick Suck Park. Like Jane
That's
will
what
be
they
like,
call it too.
let's walk the dogs at Dick Suck today. Like, okay, that's good. I figure they probably do, but I think it's called Dolph Park.
Yeah, I think I know about that one too. I've never been to either one. I'm not really deep into the Ann Arbor cruising scene.
Okay, well, I'm giving you a hot tip, Alex. Dolph Park is where it's at. You'll either see me walking my dogs or a man who wants his penis sucked. I can't guarantee. But it's really funny because when Jane told me that, I just was like, oh, whatever, sure. Every time we go there, everyone we see in their car or walking around is a man by himself.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Every time. And I'm just like, oh, just collecting your thoughts?
Yeah.
Taking
Yeah.
a nature trail walk?
Just taking some me
Like,
time.
I think we once saw some lesbian
Me and
bird
him
watchers. But other than that, it's all guys by themselves. And sometimes we'll call it Knob Slob Park.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good.
Thank you. Thank you.
I remember the first time I ever heard that term, I was in middle school, and like the park by my house, like during the summer, would have like these high school kids would volunteer to like work at the park, and like kids could go there and like they have like, you could buy stuff to like make crafts, and then like every once in a while we go on a field trip to like the beach or like, a water park or something. And there's this little kid who was like 10, who was like one of those just like piece of shit kids that like obviously his parents are at work for the summer and they're like, just go to the park until we get home from work. Mm-hmm. Always had Kool-Aid on his face, fucking just yelling at everyone all the time. And there was 3 like 19-year-old girls that were the volunteers. And he would fucking tell these girls every day, why don't you get down and slob on my knob? I'm like, you're fucking
God.
10. Like, your dick is
Sick.
literally a knob.
Yeah. That is a child that needs therapy.
Yeah.
I just want to point
I'm
that
sure
out right
he's
away.
in prison now.
Yeah, you're probably. I want you to know I learned that term like months ago.
Yeah. I was like, slap on my knob. I was
Yeah.
like, this kid's fucking 10.
I learned it from 3-6 Mafia.
My ex-girlfriend used to make fun of me all the time because of how many like masturbatory related terms and stuff I did not know. like for instance, my back gets really messed up, and so I'd get knots in it, and I'd be like, I have a really bad knot. Can you rub it out? And then she'd laugh, and I'd be like, why is that funny? She's like, you can't say that. And I was like, why? There's a knot in my back. And she's like, you can't say rub it out. And I was like, what? Oh, I don't understand. And then we saw a preview for that movie with Tina Fey and oh God, Michael Scott. That's not his name. That was his name in The Office.
Steve Carell.
So yeah, I'm really good with this kind of stuff. The one where they go on date night or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's a part in the trailer where Tina Fey is like, they're going to whack us off.
Yeah, I remember that.
And my ex-girlfriend Jamie was like, that's you. That's you. You would say that.
Well, there's an episode. There's the mafia episode of It's Always Sunny where they do the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're like, they're gonna whack us off.
Oh.
They start like freaking out.
That's
like,
one of my favorite things is when like in sports and like commentary when they accidentally say a phrase like that and they just somebody will just isolate it.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple like hockey ones. There's the podcast I listen to, they'll have them. But there's also one where Diane Sawyer is like interviewing this guy who got attacked by a shark. And he heard like if the fucking shark attacks you, you just hit it. Like hit it in the nose and it'll go away. And he said like he was hitting it, you know, with an object. And she's like, what did you use to beat off the shark?
Oh, no.
And I think the guy like barely even like he just like starts laughing.
I think the best way to fend off a shark is Red Rocket.
What do you mean? Get a boner?
Yeah, you jerk it off.
No. How do you jerk?
You just said beat it. I'm going with the beat it off thing.
All right. I thought you were like actually saw videos.
Yeah, it's
I would
one of
not be
those-
surprised if
one of
Alex
those
watched
websites you
videos
trick
of
your friends with and
shark masturbation. He's like, yeah.
jerk a fucking shark off.
it's like goatsy, but like it's a guy jerking a shark off.
I don't even understand what that means.
That was one of the websites he said he would trick his friends with.
Oh, yeah.
Remember
That's
that?
why I don't know, because I am too innocent for such horrors.
Forgot how horrible of a person Alex is.
How could you forget?
I mean well, you guys.
I know. You totally do.
I would never hurt a fly.
But everything else.
Yeah.
Anything with a butthole.
Only the butthole, though, not the rest of it.
That's nice of you. So what else is there to talk about, you guys?
Well,
You gays.
oh, did you guys watch that documentary on Netflix? I was going to ask you guys called Heroin. You guys heard of this?
No, I haven't watched. I want to watch it, though.
I'm going to go ahead and highly recommend that, although it is depressing as fuck. It's really, really good. It's also pretty short. It's like 40 minutes, which I was like, finally. Because I can't tell you the number of documentaries I've watched lately. And by lately, I mean within the last couple years, where I'm just like, you could have shaved 35 minutes off of this.
Yeah.
I am now feeling like tricked and angry at you for drawing this out so long. So they get right to it, which I appreciate. So it's really well done, but it's also extremely depressing about, you know, the opioid overdose epidemic.
Have you watched Mindhunter?
No, I have not.
That's fucking awesome.
I probably won't, just in terms of time and like, I don't know. I'm trying to not watch horrible, depressing shit unless it's like a documentary that's like real and pertinent.
Yeah.
What towns were focused on this heroin documentary?
It's a town in West Virginia. I cannot remember the name of it right now, but it is considered like the overdose capital of the United States. And the amount of overdoses happening in this one city alone is just mind-boggling. It's so sad. And then I heard on the news this morning that somewhere in Michigan, some town is trying to like rescind on making medical marijuana dispensaries legal because they're quote unquote afraid of crime.
Okay.
And I don't know. At this point, I have no patience for this. It's like, no. That's because of opioid addiction. That's what's causing horrible crime and horrible things happening, like overdoses in your cities. Not marijuana. That's not the problem.
Yeah.
It's just so crazy to me that we can literally see people dropping dead at a rate that's just astronomically higher than we could ever imagine. And yet we're still worried about weed. What the fuck is wrong with us?
It's more prescription pills
completely
leading you to heroin than anything to do with fucking marijuana.
That's exactly right.
Something came across I think it was my Facebook feed about something being passed last week that if you have a marijuana card, a medical marijuana card, you now cannot purchase a gun anymore.
See, that's just fucking ridiculous.
I don't know if that's true or not. I feel like I saw it come through in my Facebook feed or something, but I didn't like read the article or anything.
Well, I wouldn't be completely surprised just because conservative lawmakers, of course, are obsessed still with the idea that marijuana and crime are somehow related,
Right.
even though that's not the case. I thankfully do not want to own a gun ever, so I don't really give a shit. But I do think that that's a ridiculous concern because there's no correlation between smoking marijuana and mass shootings. If anything, or even shootings at all, if anything, you would be too like, You're lucky. You're lucky I've been smoking this dank indica, or else I'd go get my gun, but I'm going to watch Looney Tunes. So get out of my house. Bring back Doritos. I mean, I think it's a really stupid correlation to even try to make. If anything, if you buy a certain amount of alcohol per year, you shouldn't be allowed to buy a gun.
It's just like, it's like reefer madness like, all over again.
Yeah. Yeah. Except how many years have gone by? Yeah. I mean, we literally have tape of Richard Nixon saying essentially, well, we're going to keep it illegal so that we can round up blacks and Mexicans. I mean, that's essentially what he said on tape. Yeah. And yet we're still not able to like get over this. I just feel like at the rate we fix our horrible societal mistakes, I just feel very worn down on like hope for like any of the things we're facing now to change in my lifetime. Yeah. It bums me out a lot. But that's one of the reasons I spend so much time around dogs.
There was a really good Netflix documentary about the like drug problem. And I can't remember the name. But I'll tweet it out later if I can find it out. But basically, this guy, he starts doing this documentary about his nanny's family because her kids all ended up going to jail for drugs, and that's all it was supposed to be, was just about her family. But the more he dug into it, the more he started to like uncover about this like very intricate plan of how, you know, drugs are going to be made illegal. And he just goes through it. He's like, you know, they went after opium so they could put, you know, Chinese immigrants into prisons and camps. Then they made cocaine illegal because, you know, the black community was mostly into cocaine at the time. And then they made
through crack.
Right. Yeah. Well, this was even before that. Like, I mean, this goes way back. This goes back.
Oh, so
like
we're talking
World
like
War
when it was like used as an ingredient. In
yeah.
Coca-Cola
We're talking about like World War II era, like post World War II.
Not Coke resurgence.
No. Yeah. And it's a really good documentary, and he like really highlights how each drug was attacked to go after a specific ethnic group.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, I don't know, it's very depressing. Which leads us back to our beginning with Al Franken. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? There are evil, bad, stupid fucking people on both sides of the aisle. It has nothing to do with that. Like, if somebody's a piece of shit, they're a piece of shit. Stop trying to, quote unquote, protect your own and surround yourself with good people.
I was going to say, I watched a really good documentary on the Dana Carvey show on Hulu.
Dana Carvey?
Yeah. You ever see the Dana Carvey show?
I don't think I did. I didn't even know Dana Carvey had a show.
It was after he left SNL, so it would have been like the mid-90s, mid-late 90s?
Like 95, 96.
Yeah. And he was going to do a sketch show, and ABC wanted to do it. And so he put together basically like his dream team. Like it was him and Robert Smigel, and the cast was Stephen Colbert was on it, Steve Carell was on it, Louis C.K. was the head writer. So he like recruited like all these people, and they were like, oh, we're gonna give you a great time slot, you're gonna follow Home Improvement. And they were like, oh yeah, family friendly Dana Carvey. Well, they did like the edgiest sketch comedy show of all time.
Nice.
Like the first sketch that ever aired was Dana Carvey doing Bill Clinton, but him saying he wanted to be like more of a motherly, so he had like teats surgically implanted, and he's like nursing cats and puppies.
I remember this skit.
And they said so many people were calling in. They said they showed the ratings, like the high spike of ratings of watching Home Improvement. Then that sketch starts, and then right after the sketch, it's just like, boo. Like, Robert Smigel is like, we physically made people change their channels. Like, millions of people change their channels. And they were doing like, Dana Carvey thought it would be a funny idea to be like old variety shows in the 60s would be sponsored by like a company like Valvoline presents. So he wanted a different sponsor for every... So Taco Bell was their first sponsor. And then Taco Bell was like, we're dropping you. And he's like, that's okay, because I wanted a different one every week anyways. So there's this one part where they're like, Smigel is like, I've never even seen Home Improvement. So one time, you know, a Tuesday night, I'm like, I got to watch like what we're following. He's like, so I watch Home Improvement, and it's like just very family friendly sitcom. And I'm like, what are we doing to people? Like, And he's like, they
showing them the truth. That's what you're doing to people.
They show this clip where it's a commercial. It's like they show it to Colbert and they show it to Carell and they show it to Smigel. It's a commercial that ran on ABC and it's like a very special home improvement. And Jonathan Taylor Thomas is like, I don't want to die, Dad. And Tim Allen's like, you're not going to die. We're going to be there for you, whatever this is. And they're like, don't miss this very special home improvement. Followed by the Diet Mug Root Beer Dana Carvey show. And fucking Steve Carell just like does like the spit take laugh. Colbert laughs so fucking hard he has to take his glasses off. He's crying. He's like, what the fuck were we doing?
That's awesome.
It's a really good documentary, man. And some of the sketches were so fucking... I remember watching it when I was a kid and like Dana Carvey and Steve Carell would do this one. They were called, they were like idiot pranksters, where they would do pranks to people and think they like just pulled off a huge prank, but they only screw themselves.
No.
Like they go through a drive-through and they order a bunch of cheeseburgers and they're like, yeah, it's going to be, $30 whatever dollars. And like they go up to the drive-through window and they pay and they look at each other and they just drive away without getting the food. And then they just laugh like, that was great. That was awesome. It's like, I remember watching that sketch when it was on and I was like, man, this fucking shit's funny. But yeah, then they would tell him to like do his old SNL characters. So he would do Church Lady, but they would like do something like so insane that Church Lady would never fucking do.
Awesome.
But it's a good documentary. It's on Hulu.
I think it's called Too Funny to Fail.
Yeah.
I don't have Hulu.
I can give you a password.
Do it right now on our podcast.
All right,
no,
ready?
don't.
All 50 of you?
Yeah. So that's what I watched.
And that's what we have for you this night here, America.
We
Are
didn't,
you on Grindr, Alex? What are you doing?
I'm trying to find the name of this documentary.
That'll be the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Next
we
episode.
we didn't do a pop culture reference.
That's true. You're great, guys. I guess we should probably do that next episode.
Well,
We could leave our listeners hanging and let them know that next episode you're going to want to tune
reference.
Yeah.
Alex
what is it?
and-
What's trending with Laura Wachowski?
Yeah, yeah.
in. Alex and Ray easily stumped me about America's pop culture.
I like how we tried to do that at our show, and I was like, if you stump her, you don't win. If she guesses what you say, then you'll win something. Like that's the hard. That's the
Right.
hard
Exactly. We had to explain that. That's fun. So until next time, America.
What should we say? Like Friday, the fundraiser?
Yeah, Friday after Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Big Time Garbage Fest fundraiser show at Sellerman's.
It's going to be worth your time, effort, and money.
Yeah.
$5 at the door.
$5. Got Alex is on it, Laura's on it, Blaine Hill, Brett Mercer, John Mahar, Trey Stewart,
Zach.
I
told Andy he could be on it.
I'm only going to be doing dirty sex jokes. Don't miss it.
Yeah. It's going to be a good one. I won't be on it because I will have my daughter, but she loves Laura's dirty sex material, so maybe I'll just bring her.
She wrote my dirty sex material, which is something Ray should talk to her about.
All right.
All right.
Not
That's
jokes.
it. See
Bye,
you
guys.
guys.